Hey, left, right, out. Another day, another interesting story. So, I mean, the markets are up, and that's mainly off of this supposed Russia-Ukraine thing settling in. Here's the weird thing about that. I mean, the Russians had said that they planned on pulling back the troops once their little military drill with Belarus was over, and they did, or they are starting that. And once again, you heard the Ukrainian president asking for the intel that Biden has, or the U.S. government in general, that there's going to be an invasion. So like I've said before, it seems like there's all kinds of weird propaganda coming out, and it would be ample opportunity for Putin because he doesn't, I'm sure he's like, what the world is the West doing? I can probably just walk in here anyway. But what would be more advantageous for him is just to I guess, solidify his presence in the Russian separatist areas of Ukraine, i.e. Crimea and whatever the other, I can never pronounce it, Donetsk or Donbass or those little regions down there. But let's leave that story alone. I mean, we'll see. It seems like Biden, the last thing on that is that Biden seemed to set it up, and it seems like Pelosi is two of these deranged older people. It's like, well, if he does it, then you got a wartime president, or I mean, if Putin invades, you got a wartime president, and hopefully that'll work out in his favor. If Putin doesn't, then they just claim victory over supposed sanctions, like somehow they did anything to stop Putin from not going in. I mean, it sounds so convoluted. It's like, you know how they say catch-22, but this is like catch-22 in the opposite direction, only it's in like some delusional mindset that they have, that somehow they played some role, and in a positive way, other than just muddying the waters and in just complete, you know, misrepresenting intel on the ground and stories and fabricating false flag events that, you know, like I said before, pot calling the kettle black. But anyway, okay, let's go on. So, interesting thing came out of the Durham report, or, you know, Durham's, you know, special investigator, special counsel to look into this Russiagate thing. It's been, you know, he's been in his job for quite some time now. And, I mean, you probably heard about this. I've watched it. You know, a lot of these stories I get from outside the U.S., and I get them in days in advance, and finally we get something here. And a lot of times I don't talk about them first because I want to see how this plays out within our own. The only thing I brought up was like the leasers, jets, and there's a few other stories. But for the most part, I like to see how it plays out because I'm still skeptical of some of these news agencies overseas, even though I know ours are, you know, pretty much complete BS, but I look at them. Anyway, I heard about this. And there was some other report that was pretty enlightening. Oh, it was the Pentagon Papers talking, not the Pentagon Papers, but Pentagon FOIA requests that had occurred and enlightened us on how the Afghanistan thing went down. Which I know we can talk about that in a whole nother deal, but pretty much as bad as you think it is. But the Durham report, or Durham, is apparently got a couple whistleblowers, and it talks and some other information tying the Hillary Clinton campaign and Hillary Clinton and her ilk, the various organizations that were working with regards with her, of not only spying on Trump, like Trump has said, and told everybody. Even there's a good segment going around on 60 Minutes, that whatever that broad on there, saying that she can't report, you know, unverified stuff, even though they do that all the time. They spent 2 years doing that on the Russiagate thing. They spent, you know, they do that all the time with COVID. They do that all the time with all this other stuff. But no, they can't report on this verified, or that they couldn't verify, but it's easily verifiable. But Trump knew about it, the spying on him. Anyway, Durham apparently has discovered that there was spying, and you know that people knew about it. So there was spying on Trump. There was even supposed hacking, which we'll get more details as, you know, more things come out. So, you know, we got to verify this portion, or see the extent of the damage or what was going on, hacking into the White House when he was actually president, not just his campaign, which is tantamount to a treasonous act, or at the very least, it's breaking the law. We know that. You can't just hack into whatever, you know, a Defense Department website or the White House, the Oval Office, in order to dig up information, because that's something that foreign agents do in order to subvert U.S. policies, or to get an edge on us. So this is very interesting. I did the ramifications. We'll see what happens. But this is, to me, I almost feel like this is another thing that Hillary Clinton's done or had her finger in, that she's going to get off scot-free. And it's also another kink in the credibility of the U.S. Somebody has to be held accountable for all this shenanigans that have been going on the last couple years, which it seems as though the only people that are even shown any sort of, I'd say, presented the possibility of having justice served are people from the right. And in those cases, like I always like to bring up General Flynn, they were just simple errors on his part, and there's no malfeasance, there's no malice intent towards it, and they hold him to the fire. But if you are on what they call left or part of the intelligentsia or the apparatus, like a Brennan, or they have their CIA dude, or a Comey, or various actors within those agencies, and then also political leftists, then you can lie, you can hold evidence, you can subvert things, you can even break the law, and you will not get held accountable. It is combed over. It is, if at best, hardly talked about by the media itself. And even it might be talked about in Senate committees or congressional committees, but nothing has ever come of it. These guys, look how many times Hillary Clinton's been implicated in various criminal activities. Nothing. Biden, nothing. I like Brennan and those other guys that completely lied in front of Congress. Look at Fauci lying in the Senate. Completely lying. He keeps going about it. And nobody does anything about it. And if they try, I don't know if they try, that just doesn't happen, but they never get held accountable. Never. So that, it just shows you this is a banana republic in a sense at this point. You look at, it's corrupt down to the core, from the supposed independent Fed, insider trading in Congress, like I said, lying, nepotism within Congress and various levels. It's off the chain. I was listening to Trump on Glenn Beck today, and he was talking about this, and he made a lot of good points. And I have a lot of disagreement with Trump, especially when it comes to the monetary policy under his administration and a few other things. But I never had a doubt that the guy wasn't looking out for our interests, and that's why I still support him in a sense. And I would much rather have that. I always refer to him on the Cheeto Man than what we got going on here. At least he was trying. Yeah, he put in like some guys that I really didn't like to be in those spots, but he put in some other decent people, and he was trying to do the right thing. And at least he came at it. At least I knew that he was with us. He was our guy. This administration, top to bottom, seems absolutely corrupt. Seems to be subverting whatever vestige of America is left. But anyway, back to the Durham report. I went around, because I'll go to CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post and Times, and I'll look at in the New York Post, which is the only one. There was one article about this Durham thing, because this is arguably way greater than Watergate ever was. It's a huge scandal, and like I said, we're going to start learning more and more about it. But there was like one article that was downplaying it, and it was like a blog, not even in the main news stories, right? And the only other place that had it was the New York Post, and then of course Fox News. So I'm not even counting those guys. But and then all you hear about it from guys like me or Glenn Beck or whatnot. That's the only other people you're going to hear about it from, or Zero Hedge. But all those other ones, they're talking about Sarah Palin's lawsuit with the New York Times, or Trump, whatever tax agency says that something about his tax returns. Those are the top stories, and it's unbelievable to me, because even if you are a left-leaning organization, whether it be MSNBC or CNN, this is a news story. This is a scandal. It doesn't matter. You are a watchdog. You are covered. I mean, you are one of the industries that's covered under the First Amendment. You should be at least reporting the news. In huge scandals like this, it doesn't matter what it is, and this goes back to another point, they are more about protecting their own asses and people that they're in league with than the arguments are living by any kind of principle. Because if they were leftists and they lived by some kind of leftist principle, outside the fact that you just do anything you can to get the agenda passed, but if they actually, like old school leftists or liberals, just have principles like they, you know, stand up for everybody's freedom of speech. They, you know, were huge proponents of the Fourth Amendment. Now those are all gone, you know. And you can look at, but so you'd think that they would at least report on this, at least have it in a little excerpt on the bottom of their page, but it's nowhere. It's nowhere. And this is arguably one of the biggest stories going on. Or it could be one of the biggest scandals we've had. Way bigger than Watergate. But anyway, we'll most assuredly go into this later and some of these other things going in there, but I just wanted to say that. And I'm driving, so I apologize for sound. Anyway, like, subscribe, talk to you later. Peace.